I'm Andrei Minkov. I am the founder and CEO of Trademark Factory. So I was a lawyer in Russia for 13 years before I moved to Canada 9 years ago to go back to law school. Started my law practice by myself as a regular intellectual property law firm. Then I quickly realized that really my success would be more linked to my ability to market and repackage my services. That's how I came up with the idea of Trademark Factory, that would be offering trademarking services with a predictable result for a predictable budget. And that's really the only thing I do right now. We're growing. We were getting more recognition locally. We're getting some requests, from other parts of Canada and the world. And as with any business, you always want to grow faster. You always want to achieve more in less time. And that's really been my biggest challenge. How do I grow this fast enough? How do I not waste so much time, growing organically? So we were getting better. We were getting, some good clients, some business. We're growing consistently, but the speed is something that I always was concerned with. I used to go to a lot of meetups, and then Dan came up on the scene and launched VEG. And I think I attended pretty much every single one of them except for when I was not in the city. And the first one I attended, I was absolutely blown away. And it's actually a funny thing is, I think it was during the second one, somebody took a photograph of me. Bob Garlick took a photograph of me, and I was so mesmerized that I was just listening to Dan, and I'm still using that as my headshot, because what I call this is my visionary photograph, because I was so inspired by what I was learning and hearing from Dan, and I absolutely love that photograph, right? And every time I would come to his event, I would get something out of it with so much value that I would immediately go and implement it, and it would just get me up higher and higher, faster and faster. And really what I remember is that after one of the events, I was fortunate enough to be invited to a dinner, and I ended up going in Dan's car. And Dan would just ask me some questions, and I would tell him what the process was, what the system was. And literally it took him probably about 3.5 minutes to give me an idea that after I implemented it, just allowed me to triple the conversion rate like this. And based on that, I was like, if I can get so much value out of 3.5 minutes, there's got to be more out there. So, well, there's always the question, is it worth the money, right? There's always the question, is it worth the money? Is it worth the time? Is it, I wasn't really questioning Dan's credibility. And if I may be honest about this, the fact that Dan is holding his events at Vancouver Club really did all the convincing I needed, because there's a lot of people who want to sell you their coaching, and you don't really know who they are. They can tell you how successful they are, but you don't really see this, right? The fact that the whole thing happens here and that Dan has access to this location was really all the convincing that I needed from that perspective. It really didn't take me all that much to convince me, because again, I was just going back to that conversation in the car, 3.5 minutes. I'm like, you know what? And here's the other thing, with my business, I don't need a lot more clients to pay for this, right? And that's both a good thing and a bad thing, because the good thing is that pretty much any investment that I make, I can always make it back with just 1 or 2 clients, right? The bad thing about it is that it kind of allows me to be a bit more flexible about, let's go there, let's do this, let's do that. But what I'm getting out of this, I pretty much stopped going to any other meetups. I still read a lot of books, but in terms of one-on-ones and the events, that's really all I need. And what I've probably, if there's one thing that I learned that's most valuable, is asking more questions. Because I'm extremely individualistic. I'm very self-reliant, I'm very self-sufficient, right? I don't need people to feel happy, right? I'm glad that they are, but what it made me be is to really try to solve all problems by myself. And I would sit and ponder about the same old thing for hours and hours and days and weeks. And what this relationship taught me is to actually be open to asking questions. And now I'm almost at the point when it becomes automatic. So there's this thing I don't know the answer to, or I'm trying to weigh several options. Instead of sitting there and trying to figure it out, I would either write a note to Dan, or think of, it doesn't necessarily have to be Dan. I mean, Dan is not the, as much help as I'm getting from him, that's not what I'm trying to convey. What I'm saying is, my number one trigger right now is, who can help me find the answer to this question? Often it is Dan, often it's somebody else. But instead of like, how do I decide this or that, is who can help me? And that attitude just makes my life so much easier and makes the whole process so much better, because it's my first business, right? I just happen to find something that works, right? Or I'm just so persistent that I just can't let it go until it succeeds. But the ability to go and ask people who've been there, who've done this, who've failed number of times, who know what works, what doesn't work, it's just priceless. Don't overthink it, because really everything that I'm trying to decide, it's either been done before, or it really doesn't matter all that much. And it's a lot more important to just go do something, test it, get feedback, make it better. And a lot of the things that I find myself still kind of spending too much energy on is thinking things through too much, when really the only person who cares about them is myself, right? And having somebody who can actually take you by the hand and say, Andre, focus on what's important, go do it, that's probably what the relationship is all about. He was the one who helped me design the current 3 packages that we offer for Trademark Factory, and that was the result of a 3.5-minute ride. I'm still blown away by this, because really that's what completely changed my approach to selling. Because what we used to have, there were 3 other packages. One of them was great, and 2 other ones were horrible. And in my mind, well, we have 2 bad packages and the good package, well, I'll buy the good package. But I wasn't in integrity when I was offering the 2 bad packages, because I knew that the only reason they existed was a decoy, right? What Dan did is he asked me about the structure, how many people were buying what, and stuff like this. And we came up with a current structure, and now we have 3 great packages, right? Even though one of them sells better than the others, doesn't mean that the other ones are not great. They're just great for different situations. But knowing that we have 3 great packages allowed me to be so much more open in sharing the value, and it becomes contagious. And so the closing rate is, gone through the roof. So that's probably number one thing, and really that's what started the relationship, because I saw that, what the 3 minutes could do. Since then, there's been multiple ways that Dan helped me improve the business, and it just keeps going. It's an ongoing process, and it's so amazing for me to be able to grow and see how the whole thing grows, and just look at the numbers. We're having the best quarter after best quarter after best quarter after best quarter. What else can you want? So as somebody who attends this, I always get a ton of value, but it usually comes from something tangential, right? So I ask a question, somebody answers it, and I'm like, oh, so actually if I took it from here and then and just build something around this, it just gives me all the value. So for example, last time around, one of the biggest bottlenecks was our sales process, and which was going great, but it required my time. And I was always terrified, how can we make this more scalable? And so I was at a hot seat, I think it was a month ago or so, maybe 2 months ago. And I was like, guys, I don't know how to do this. And I know that there is a solution, I just don't see how we can make this happen. And a bunch of questions asked of me. I didn't find the answer then, but as I was walking home, I figured it out. And now we're implementing this solution, it works like magic. And was that the hot seat that did it? Was it Dan that did it? Was it me that? It doesn't matter. Really, with coaching and mentorship and self-development programs, really it's very difficult to assign a certain percentage of why you're successful, what exactly triggered this. But the thing that matters is really, who cares? What matters is that this is pushing me where I want to go, this is nudging me to go faster, and it works. Really, if there's not a single process that I find, universally better than others. Hot seats are great. Receiving feedback from the group is great. Listening to other people get their feedback is also super valuable. So everything, and the ability to just go and ask questions, I can't range them. It's the whole package is just second to none. So yeah, just recently I won the award from Dan, who chose me as the Entrepreneur of the Year among his mentees, and that felt, so that was something out of this world, because typically I'm not the one who's happy about the made-up prizes, and because if there's one thing that I despise is the everybody gets a trophy attitude, right? This one was different. First of all, there were very few of them that were awarded, so I actually felt that and I actually do feel that I'm growing, right? I do feel that I'm getting out of my comfort zone all the time, so I hope that it's well-deserved, and to me it means a lot, because to get recognition from somebody who's so successful and who sees the vision in what I'm doing and being recognized for that, I felt absolutely amazing about this, and that was very unexpected, so thank you. Honestly, I don't think Dan needs my recommendation. I'm going to rephrase that. So honestly, I don't think that Dan needs my recommendation. If you see the value, really the only question that you should be asking, is this for real? Is this just one of those gurus that makes money from mentees? And my answer is that yeah, it's absolutely for real. You get access to somebody who's super successful, super smart, super experienced, and with the quality of the feedback that I get from Dan, it's just an absolute no-brainer. I mean, we all have doubts, and really, if you don't see the value, basically if you don't see the level of feedback that you can get from Dan, you're probably not ready for this. And honestly, that's probably the best advice I can give you. If you don't see the difference in the quality of feedback that you can get from Dan compared to a lot of other coaches out there, that's probably not the right fit for you. If you're ready to take your business to a new level and basically to get advice from somebody who can not only see your industry, but where not just see your business as it is right now, but see where you can be at 10x, 100x, then really I don't see a better alternative than this.